Hello, I'm the Kirk-O-Matic, and this is a conglomeration video of our friend Brian Henson. It has slides and interviews of his friends, and the next film footage is of Super 8 that we all shot down at the coast, Palacios, Texas, while we were shooting the Texas Comedy Massacre. So I hope you enjoy it.
The last I heard, JD moved to whatever that
San Rafael
ashram.
Yeah, Dafri John, now Dafri John Lavananda.
Yeah. It was going to be a
Yeah.
free love sort of situation.
Yeah.
Well,
no, he was the answer.
I'll tell you, the
to
weirdest
truth,
thing that happened. The weirdest thing that happened when Sarah and I split up. JD was there, and my skin started boiling all over in this hyperallergenic situation that he was central to. And
I've heard this story.
Months to recover from in the floor in the living room of Nick West Place in New York. And when I came back down here to Austin, and Sarah came to visit to throw a shower for her old Oklahoma girlfriend, Vicki Waugh, and I hadn't seen Sarah for 9 months.
Vivian Waugh.
Vivian Waugh.
Ooh, yeah.
Victoria Waugh. And I got to see Sarah for all of an hour. I didn't even know that Sarah was coming until the day before that. The day that Sarah comes in, who calls completely out of the blue? JD Rebstock, and he's in town. Can he see me? And I say, this is too weird. JD Rebstock, Sarah Whistler in a third city with me at the same time with no pre-planning. You know, it's like the symmetry here is too great. I couldn't do it. That I said.
This is the title of Don Hartack's film that he got zapped window John Tynes with, and why it came up is because it's title. And you know, John Woodward got his 1 million Watusi bucks, and did the Mark tell you that he got the big shutdown of all kinds of systems?
Yeah, I heard that he was trying to get the DP on it, and he was looking forward to it.
Well, it was really strange. I was giving him the number. I just called Kathy Welch. You know Kathy Welch from.
I never met her.
Well, anyway, she. I called up Mark about a completely different reason, and he tells me that there's a lockdown.
You're basing
lockdown is out.
Broke down back there.
No, saw it.
Well, I thought maybe I could get to a phone and...
Hello? Drop the bombs now? Roger.
Working on Speed of Light, Brian had storyboards, Brian had scripts, Brian had treatments, very organized for a young filmmaker. But he knew precisely where it was going, at least on paper. When we actually got down to actually filming it, there's all these surprises. He worked with the moment. He decided, okay, on the basis of what he has before him now, he'd take off from there. It was extemporaneous. It was live. That's the kind of way he moved. Funny story on Speed of Light. The last shot Brian wants to pull off this wonderful shot at the end where we pull away from the house, from the farmhouse, where Sally has finally ensconced herself and calls her husband, and we live happily ever after. That's anyway. But okay, Brian rents the services of a balloonist in Salado, Texas, Randy Moon, I believe his name is. All right, JD and I have a real big fuss about who's going to go up in the balloon. Well, here we have this real expensive camera. We're all nervous about taking it up in the balloon. Well, it's early morning, the sun is rising, the winds are up, balloon is going from side to side. JD and I flip a coin, I win. I get to go up and take this final shot. What a mess. First off, the balloon turns 180 degrees around from where we're supposed to be shooting, so I can't shoot out the side. The winds are so stiff, the balloonist immediately looks at me with a terror-stricken face and says, "We have to land immediately." He says, "Get prepared for landing." All of this is taking place in less than a minute. I look at him and going, oh boy. But being put in that position and having to think quickly, again, is Brian Hansen. I put the camera down, lens up. Randy turns to me and says, okay, we're going to land in that field, and it's going to be a crash landing. Well, we crash land in this field. We're both okay. We're both on the side. I'm so nervous and wigged out from this experience that I get out of the gondola. I'm flat on the ground like this, and the camera's okay. I pick up the camera, and I start walking through these fields, and they're big furrows like this, about 3 feet high. Well, we got this all on film, and you see me walking with the camera and in this undulating motion. Well, to make a long story even longer, hardly any of that gets into the film, but those surrealistic sequences at the end are just bits and pieces of what actually happened, which was a total disaster. But turning disaster into a fortune, I guess, is what filmmaking is all about. Popular Science. Wow. Young Turks want to do music video in Austin. Again, I can see Brian's face, you know, this all of a sudden this gleam, this idea of, oh boy, something I can work on, something I can shape, something I can form, you know, the backdrop of my creativity. Brian, I don't think Brian ever worked on anything that wasn't kind of familial, that he knew the people intimately and he liked the project. Either it was his project or somebody that he really respected or enjoyed working with. Popular Science was just a weekend of craziness again.
I'll take a snapshot with the Polaroid. Hopefully the Polaroid will pop right up here and onto the floor, and if it lands in some paint, you can pick it up, it'll look good, okay? All right?
Okay.
Larry, you'll have to hold it top.
Okay, now Larry.
Tell me that audience, I know.
Okay, you guys come through here. Mark, when I say action, the sound's going to roll, okay? And then I'm going to call for action. I want camera to start. I'll yell for camera also after action. But what we need is we need to have, after camera comes on, we definitely need to have some paint hitting right here. And that's when JD's going to see. And then when I say action, you guys are to start moving past. Or when I say camera, Wes and Kevin, I want you guys to start moving across and walking past.
Okay.
Because that's when JD's going to shoot you. And once he's got your silhouette, he's going to move. He's going to catch Larry in this window. Okay. And then he's going to move on and follow Mark.
Okay.
All right. So this is going to last about 30 seconds in here. Okay. Sound ready?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well. Okay. Okay. Now this time, let's make sure we've got our cues. Okay. I'm going to roll tape. I'm going to call for camera. I'm going to call for action. When I call for action, I want you people to start moving behind the canvas in a group, and I want Larry to pause momentarily. You don't have to focus on Mark. Just aim that camera, shoot a shot, and split.
Okay.
Okay?
You want the picture to fall out?
No. Nice. If you can do it in a quick, deft move, then do it. If not, I mean, you don't really care what these pictures look like. You shoot hundreds of them every day.
I don't know. I was pointing in that direction.
I saw it. I thought so. Okay, excellent, Mark.
Hey, Mike this, buddy.
Mac it.
Mike to Mike, we meet each other. Give me a light, another, and another.
Oh,
Playing God?
a poet, sound man, all-around personality extraordinaire. Brian Hansen, master film. Master liver off of granite.
Okay, let's just see it.
Master of many things.
Can we get you close?
Known and unknown.
Yeah.
No sleep.
Doesn't the bunny ever talk?
Editing, they only edit on 1 inch.
Well, I'm trying to, the thing that I'm trying to, okay, let me just speak quite frankly here. The total cost when you're talking about something that's this small amount of film, and your delivery date is 2 weeks, and the cost it's going to take you to go up to Dallas to do the transfer, unless you just want to send it up there, have them transfer it, and have it send it back to you without you being there. That's, you know, you can do that, but still you've got expenses, and I presume that you're going to be wanting to handle your original negative and your videotape, and the transport costs are, you can get, if you deal with Southwest Labs or even with Allied Labs in Dallas, as far as your processing goes, they will carry it over to Video Post and transfer for a $12 courier charge, and then you've got your charges for your negative transfer to $1.
Prove it's you. There, it looks better that way.
David. That's me.
Great. This will be used against you on TV.
Look, the myth is revealed.
This is pretty rich stuff, man. Ooh! The Easter Bunny is down.
$50 if you go by air. Video Post in Dallas tends to like to, since they're right there at left field, if you go Air Rush on Southwest Airlines, it'd be $25 to send it.
I'm crying Come on now. Shades. You're a good horse, you. You pull the wheel.
I'll show you some action. I'll show you some ground jumping. Get off my way!
your axe, man. Drop your axe.
Okay, now start the engine. Start the engine, Brian. Get over here. We'll get a close-up and start the engine. Okay. Okay.
That looks stupid.
Yes. We are at Robinette Academy, personal protection, as you can see. Rumor has it there is a filmmaker who works out of this huge complex here, as you can see, this huge warehouse. Now, just exactly what kind of films goes on in here, nobody knows. It could be documentaries, it could be comedies, it could be porno. And that's what we want to find out. If it's porno, we're shutting it down, by God, because we're part of the Mies fucking Commission. Let's go in here. Let's see if we can talk to Mr. Marcus Van Babel, who allegedly runs the Robinette Academy of Personal Protection. We'll see if it isn't a front for porno. We tried to get in once, but we never got past this door up here. We were ushered away by this man here. Yeah. This man who is Brian Hansen.
Look at this. Film in one hand, coffee in the other.
Is it true that Mark Van Babel is in the process of making porno films behind the facade of the Robinette Academy of Personal Protection?
It takes personal protection when you're making a porno movie because so many people, including that damn assholes in charge of Citizens Against Pornography, that guy ought to be split wide open with a high-speed auger.
Well, what goes on here, Mr. Hansen? What is all this contraption?
These are teleporters to the sixth dimension. In fact, we're going to be looking at the sixth dimension tonight when we go to the Forbidden Zone. Oh no, not the Forbidden Zone.
Yeah, it's Mr. Van Babel around.
Well, he's around here someplace, but you know, this, in fact, have you seen these? And I've got another question to ask you about film.
What the fuck is this shit? What is that thing? Am I supposed to put my hand here?
God damn it.
This is yet a further example of the degradation that Mark Van Babel will sink to, animating a trash can. One of his greatest porno films was...
Somebody's got to do it. Big mouth.
Trash Can Annie.
Behold the man behind the curtain!
Or the man behind the door. Ignore him.
Madman.
You do not see him. Pretty great. Huh?
The Great Oz has ruled.
This is pretty pleasant sequence.
Hey, is this not didactic structuralist filmmaking here? Java.
Java cover, Java.
Man, Java. The Holy Trinity.
There's the Holy Trinity all rolled in one.
Yeah. Hey, you see this? 666. Holy shit.
Well, I first met Brian Hansen about 1980. We were outside of Raoul's when it was still going on, and I guess it was a Huns or a Norvell's concert. And he came up to me. He had seen Invasion of the Aluminum People at Tom Huckabee's party, a party that Tom had downtown. And we sort of met in the parking lot of Raoul's, and he gave me he told me he was with RFE, and he gave me a matchbox, a little match cover from the group, and he gave me a record, an RFE record, and that's when I guess we first met him, and we were sort of kindred spirits, I suppose. He had gone to school, of course, in Fargo, and I'd gone to school in Great Falls, Montana. And it's funny, and about 4 years later, he of course asked for the match cover back because he didn't have the RFE matchbox, and of course he wanted the record back because he had given all those away. But so those mementos are gone and lost to time, of course. But
original opening, which is right here.
They made a new one.
Right there, yeah. 2 new openings just popped right out of the ground. Schauenbach. Yeah, they're probably good readers.
When you film this, are you gonna film the? Are y'all filming the opening back here? Are y'all getting that? What's the angle on this?
Kurt, come here, get a close-up of the ants on the run. I'm serious.
Is that good enough?
Thanks, Kurt.
What do you got to say for yourself, Brian? Wasting time.
Yeah, so they were going up to the, take Tim back to the, he's got a rehearsal.
During the course of the filming, we had this wild carnival scene, and I said, Brian, I've got to have 3 babbling heads, okay? We're gonna make them up, and they can drool, they can spit, they can do all this incredible stuff. And Brian, you've got to be one of these babbling heads. And he goes, well, I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, that's pretty humiliating. And I go, no, Brian, you'll love it. I want to dress you. We'll make Sarah look that way too, okay? We'll put all this makeup on. You guys can spit and drool and do all this nasty stuff. And finally, he agreed. And we started shooting, and I said, Brian, wait a minute, we've got to put your glasses on because nobody's going to recognize you in all this get-up if you don't have your glasses on. They're your trademark. And so he says, I'm not wearing these glasses. Anyway, we made him wear the glasses so you can, you know, when you see this babbling head, you know, with all this makeup and stuff, and you still know it's Brian because he's got these glasses on, and he was great. And I guess that sort of typified our relationship. We love to abuse each other and use each other to the max. And that was really great, you know. Abuse. You know, work is definitely hell. And basically, we were just trying to survive. And so, well, we'd been at Brackenridge for about a year, and Brian got a chance to work on Lauren Bivens' Trespasses. And so he said, hey, I need a boom man. And he said, well, who are you going to hire? And he goes, well, I don't know. I wonder who wants to do it. And I go, well, you know, I got to get the fuck out of here. And so we got out of Brackenridge Hospital, you know, and he got me a gig there. And we did, you know, several other smaller things. And it was kind of a trade-off, you know. We were just trying to survive at the time. He'd get something going, and I would, and we'd hire each other, and, you know, just survival without having to, you know, work a real job. Salem Cigarettes, now that was an incredible shoot. That was mainly just a big party. Of course, me, Brian Hansen, Kirk Maddock, Dan Hunsinger, we all worked on it. And it was basically just, you know, as much as you could. And one Sunday we were sent out to go get some straw out in New Haven, and that was about a 2-hour trip. You know, we should have gone out there. We rented a big rider truck. We were going to go out there and come right back. And that little jaunt took about 9 hours. Brian, of course, had his little brewski. And it got to the point during the course of driving this big truck. I was the driver, of course, because I look the most Texan, I suppose. And it got to the point where I got so stoned, of course, I was afraid to hit the brakes, and you know how your mind works at that point. And Brian was laughing, and Kirk was laughing. It was all just a big joke. But I was really afraid, because I suddenly realized I couldn't drive this big, giant diesel truck. But anyway, we made it, and we got our straw and for the shoot that we were going to shoot Monday. And we got our straw, and we actually got to pick cotton in New Haven. We just pull over and do all this fun thing. It was a great odyssey across East Texas, and that was really great to get paid lots of money to go do that. And oh yeah, and we stopped, of course, at Mom Janisek's place, which was a place in East Texas, about an hour outside of Austin, a little bar. Of course, Brian was carrying around this pouch of receipts for Salem Cigarettes, and you know, very valuable. It had all the receipts and all the money that was owed him, and of course, he leaves it underneath the bench outside at Mom Janisek's place, where I'd stopped to take a quick picture, and he had to drive all the way back out there, of course.
Just before
Well, of course, you know, he lived in Austin the past year, and we did Cheap Peaks, which was a great opportunity for self-debasement and you know, attacking each other in front of video cameras, and that was a lot of fun. Of course, it was unrehearsed. It was a lot of abuse, and the end product was really awful, but it was great.
Exploitation. I mean, that's what a film is.
We're purveyors of voyeuristic. Well, there's a difference between voyeurism with filmmakers and voyeurism with an audience. This is a film that turns the entire audience into voyeurs. It's like a Hitchcockian thing, only it's taken to the nth degree. It's beyond the. Can we get back to the film?
Yeah, let's look at this film.
Let's save this for Godzilla Night, what you haven't prepared for.
Where did I first encounter Brian Hansen? When did I come to Austin? Probably 77 or 78. And I had a roommate who was really involved in Raoul's and the whole underground, avant-garde, new wave, punk rock music scene going on there. And he'd heard of this supposedly kind of genius guy named Brian Hansen, who played tapes and keyboards and all sorts of contemporaneous, extemporaneous instrumentation for this group. contemporaneous, extemporaneous instrumentation for this group called Radio Free Europe, and I was working on a film for my Film One project, and so we went over to this guy's house. Brian turned out to have all of these amazing, like, self-put together, like, I think the company is called PAIA, like do-it-yourself synthesizer, mono little junk, made little noises, and it was really pretty bad stuff. But I was just amazed, you know, that this guy was already into electronics before the rest of the world was, and played some of his stuff, and found out later he was in a band called Radio Free Europe. And
did you ever go see him play?
Just once. And I found the show very sloppy, but a lot of fun. I think almost everything back in those days was sloppy but fun. Then I think some years went by, maybe a year, and Brian came out with this weird film that kind of changed Austin, at least UT, in the film department, called The Speed of Light, and everybody was really into that. We'd never seen anything like it in our life, and I guess that kind of put Brian on a pedestal of being the vanguard filmmaker of UT for a while. And it's like, I always felt like a poseur to some extent, I think, in being a part of his projects and things that Brian did, because I always felt he had the cerebral stuff going on, and I was trying to figure out exactly what he was talking about lots of times. But I was often amazed, you know, that he would talk to me like another person, because I'd always, I don't know if this is, you know, my little psychological thing going on or what, but I always really appreciated Brian's ability to jump from A to Z and everything beyond the alphabet, basically. And we seemed to talk about lots of cerebral things, and I guess that's why we kept in contact with each other. Oh, that was a lot of fun. I think I really got to know Brian more so through Everyman. It was also very distant in one sense, just because I was totally involved with the other department, well, like the art direction and everything.
Brian back there.
Double image Poindexter. Doesn't he look cute? Oh, he does. Super high. He does look like Poindexter. Oh,
While he was married, I got involved in a project with another filmmaker and all-around jack of all art trades, and we kind of decided that we needed to make some money doing pseudo-erotic or almost porno kind of pictures, so we got a model, and we heard that Brian found out about this, and he was just appalled, basically, that we would even think of doing anything pornographic or whatever, and it was so degrading. And then you find out 6 months later that Brian's got a job here in California working at a lab that develops porno films. So, and you know, at that point it didn't matter, that the situation's changed. So I always found that kind of funny. Well, I remember having, what would that be called, Sunday brunch over at their house once, with a very proper tea setting, and very, Sarah, I think, had, she was a lot like Nina, who actually starred in Everyman, in that she had a very wild and wide sense of genteel customs and manners, and it was kind of neat to have espresso from these very nice china cups, talking about redshifts and things. I mean, Popular Science, I think that was fate. I just called him on the phone, and he said, hey, I'm working on, you know, like a music video. Why don't you come down and take some stills of it? And I had no idea that he would have this person swinging on a ladder, throwing paint at you know, these backdrops, seamless backdrops, and it
was like this French overtone.
Yeah, and
60s art.
It was. I liked it a lot. It was kind of a neat experience to watch this person. Supposedly, he was in control of this chaos, which was a nice metaphor for Brian in one sense, because he always seemed to create this chaos. It was kind of intentional chaos that I'm not sure if he was actually in control of it or not, but he seemed to be. At least he knew what to do with the megaphone.
Yeah.
At that point, I really felt like a poser, kind of hanging around with David Byrne and all the people from the Talking Heads, and everybody seemed actually very real in that situation. So I did learn that people are people, basically, and it really doesn't matter if you're Bernardo Bertolucci or Jonathan Demme or Greta Garbo or whoever you are. I mean, you're just a person at one level. I mean, it was kind of fun watching David Byrne wolf down this barbecue. And here's his future wife, basically, who's knows everything about Japanese arts and kabuki, and she's here wolfing down, you know, ketchup-covered hot dog. It's pretty odd. Well, now that was pretty wild. I really wanted to be in that car that Brian was driving on the way to Plashes, Texas, because what was the car? I mean, what model was that?
Belvedere.
Belvedere, yes, the Belvedere, Brian's Belvedere. Classic car. And I really wanted to be in that car on the way there and back, because I knew that would be the crazy car, basically.
It was great fun.
Yeah, and as it turned out, it was the crazy car, well, it had David Boone and some other people in it. I felt that I was in the stodgy car, which was the filmmaker, who was very preoccupied with getting everything correct so that Texas Comedy Massacre would turn out correct. Since he was producing it, he wanted to make sure that all the angles were covered.
Man the ground! Man the ground!
Wait a minute. Now,
the president, Mr. President!
How do you feel now, Mr. President?
Would you hire this man to do your sound?
Mommy?
Some people have to make decisions all day long. Me, even when I'm having a great time, I have the big decisions to make. That is all.
One of my favorite experiences with that was watching Brian break character as this surly, motley crew member on the Clouseau voyage. Like, oh, you know, he kept laughing. And so I couldn't say that I would cast him in a movie as an actor.
You find something amusing? Claude!
No! Excusez-moi!
But I distinctly heard you giggle. Is there something humorous about this fish?
No, pas du tout.
Are you sure? Fishy?
Absolument!
And I suppose you would not laugh if I were to show you the horrible penguin? Monsieur, attention! You are the most despicable, undisciplined crew I've ever commanded.
You're so obnoxious with that camera.
Hey, all the actors need on the boat. He'll be rolling around, getting the whole boat in this show.
Waiting on sound? Did I hear someone waiting on sound?
You always wait on sound.
We are not waiting on sound. We are waiting for sound men.
Sound buddies with sound minds.
Not to be had out here, no?
This guy, Brian Hansen.
Famous.
He claims to be a sound man.
Look at those incompetent hands.
Ready?
Camera ready.
Okay, roll sound.
Sound rolling.
Bible says.
Name and number, please.
101101001100111.
Brian Hansen.
Converted to digital. In the process of converting to digital. 10100001110.
We were jealous of that situation because we knew how to talk about filmmaking and the styles and the technique and all that. So I said, cheap peaks, man. And Brian said, oh, you know, I brought the sign in that first time when we were shooting it. I said, I did it out on my computer. I said, we'll call it Cheap Peaks. And Brian said, Cheap Peaks, golly, that is Kirk-o-matic. Give me a break. He was bigger than life, actually, because he just seemed to be in touch with the world a lot better than anybody else I knew, and I seemed to, you know, kind of enjoy that because you're more a realist rather than just, he wasn't phony. You know, you meet a lot of people that are just, you know, just not in touch with the world. And Brian definitely was, and it's really a shame that he has to leave us like that. But we'll continue to try to do projects, and that's what this is all about. I think he was a dedicated to life, because he didn't want to, you can see that in his scripts. He was really dedicated to life, and he wanted to live life to its fullest, because he thought it was important for everybody to have a chance to enjoy it. And I really don't know whether he got to travel the world that much, but he seemed to know the world a lot, and I'm going to miss him.
And it was a four-dimensional project. He said he discussed it with producers and financiers like an hour, well, months, and no one could even figure out what he was talking about. And then, of course, he comes to find out that 3 months after he has this idea, projects like that are being funded for museums all across the country. I'm not sure exactly what he wanted to do with this, but it involved using 4 photographers, photographing a synchronous event, and it was a great idea. I don't think the project was ever finished, and I personally would like to get a hold of those original negatives and finish the damn thing. It's a pretty wild project. Some of the things I learned from Brian about myself were that it's okay to be out there somewhere. That eventually these ideas, if they come from a pretty true or real source in yourself, will be vindicated in time. Be as crazy as you possibly can, as long as you're committed to this essence. Evolution will bear out the truth of what you're dealing with. Stay on the fringe of things, basically, because that's where the mainstream is going to be going in 10, 15 years.
Brian, you know, this is Jap stuff, Jewish American principles.
Jewish American principles?
Yeah, Jap. Jewish
Americans don't eat pork.
I know it, but it's just like...
How did I meet Brian Hansen? Okay, Brian Hansen was trying to get The Man Who Lost Himself finished, and he needed these trick shots done. He didn't know how to do them. So Louis Saldana told him to call me up, and he came over and he talked about his film, and he showed me his work print on the editing table, and he said, well, we need this shot where this guy looks into a mirror but he can't see himself. So I've been fiddling around with front screen projection. So I said, okay, Brian, I don't know who you are, but it was funny to me. I mean, I never met this guy before, and he was like really enthusiastic about his film and film in general, and I guess it's sort of contagious. So he was already out of time and out of money, and so I guess I felt sorry for him. I don't know.
I decided to leave at once. I worked my way through the unfriendly crowd looking for an exit, an escape. But wait, this was no exit. I was standing in front of a mirror. Staring at that silver reflection, a strange apprehension came over me. I was searching for my own reflection. I peered more closely into the mirror. I could not find myself.
Man Who Lost Himself, huh.
You worked on that as well.
Yeah, I think I was the AD on that or something like that. PM, AD, I mean, you know, role doesn't really matter. I just wanted to be working with Brian. And by the way, let me say this about Brian. All the people that I knew that really knew Brian wanted him to succeed. They were all waiting. None of them had any doubts that he would get his day. And I guess that's what this is all about, is that we're going to make sure that he gets his day. Whether it be here or there. That's what I say. I don't believe he's gone.
So we decided we were going to shoot ourselves a trailer, so we took some shorthands that I ripped off from Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, and we shot this trailer, but we figured we got to have a naked girl, right? Got to have a topless girl. So I didn't know anybody that would do it for less than $300. And so Brian and I sat in this place, and we must have talked to 5 or 6 different girls, and of course they're all almost completely naked when we're talking to them. You know. But Brian, he kept at it, and he finally found this girl, and she was going to have to go to court next day. We shot that in the Stephen F. Austin Hotel, the Driscoll Hotel, that's right, and the same place where he shot and Man Who Lost Himself. And we all met in this hotel room, and there was Joe Anderson, famous, not so famous film producer and editor who played Gerald Ford, President Gerald Ford. And we had this girl who was, oh, she wasn't so good looking, but boy, she had the, she had the major memory action. Yeah, last time I saw Brian is I went up to New York in October for the Independent Feature Project, and up there to push my film, The Texas Comedy Massacre. And Brian was helping me out, so we both signed up and became IFP members. And the IFP is sort of like a convention, and it's also a big party. We had a great time, and Brian was just talking a mile a minute. You could tell he was in hog heaven, you know. I mean, that was Brian's the yak master, and that's what we were doing. We were just yakking away, yak, 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 yak. I mean, we're really getting anything accomplished, really. I mean, we met some people, and it was great fun. I had the time of my life. I could tell Brian was having fun. He seemed
a real fish in water in New York.
Yeah, he seemed to be pretty happy. He was happy.
Having never really dealt with a person's disappearance from the earth that quickly as Brian's, I hope that I don't forget him, basically, because there's still a lot I can learn from him, and he was thinking pretty far ahead that some of his ideas are yet to come, and I hope I am aware enough of his contribution, even though he's not here physically, to the things that are going to happen in the future. And I think he was a very important person, and who knows, if you are reincarnated, he'll probably be back, and that'll be good. Yeah, he was cut very short, but perhaps, as some people think, that was his purpose, was to infuse at least all of us who knew him with a bunch of ideas and real crazy energy, and now he's gone back to wherever you go. Now it's up to us.
The last time I saw him was about a week before he went into his coma. He'd come back to Austin, and we spent the whole weekend together, and it was really great. I mean, during the course of our relationship, it was a lot of jokes. Everything was always up. It was funny and that sort of thing. And that weekend we talked about a lot of serious things. Women, he talked about you know, his relationship with Sarah, and I was talking about mine with Sandy, which at the time we were separated. And it was pretty great. We got really, really close, more than we'd ever gotten at that time. And you know, that the humor was gone, and we realized it was, you know, that given the chance, I think we would have been best friends in the world. We were pretty great friends as it was, but we just, that weekend before we met on a plane we'd never had. All the humor and the witticisms and the mental sparring, all that was put aside. And it was pretty sad because I felt like we both parted knowing that this was the start of something great, you know. Here's looking at you, kid, that sort of thing. And that's a really sad weekend, but I'm glad I had it. And the cameraman is crying. But I just wanted to say something like that because I haven't said anything yet. It's hard for me to say these things. But what a sad thing. And I've known a lot of people that have died in my life. And you can always sort of rationalize it. Oh, they did too much drugs. They were old. It was their time, and all these things. And Brian's death is the first time that it's really hit me that death is really meaningless. And I see no reason for him to have died. It just seems I feel really ripped off. But he was a great guy, and I want to remember the funny times. And there were plenty of those. And we raised we certainly raised our share of hell. And, but it's sad at the same time because this year I thought it was really going to break out, something was really going to happen. And I always expected to be sitting around some pool with all these naked women and me and Brian sipping brewski and blowing some gauge and, you know, talking about the good times.
Che significa brutto? Ma come che significa brutto? Ho detto adesso! No, no, perché quando si tratta di ragionare tu ti smetta, a parola vuoi ragionare, ma quando si tratta di decidere... Ah, la guarda!